We're here with artist Helen Schell, who is the creator of the Make It to the Moon project. Helen has spent the morning at Balmoral Hall talking to our students and led an art class this morning, and she's off to work with students at Art City later on today. Welcome, Helen.
Hello.
Just to start off, I'd like to just kind of, if you wouldn't mind, give us the 30-second summary of who you are and what you've done and what brings you here.
Well, my name's Helen Schell. I'm based in the UK in a city called Sunderland. I'm an artist who specialises in work about space exploration and science of the cosmos. I'm also an SRO UK Space Ambassador, which is part of the education wing of ESA, the European Space Agency. So I specialise in creating art about space, and also specialise in making education projects about space, and I do that with schools, all ages, and other large institutions and organisations, primarily in the UK, but this is my first real venture to Winnipeg in Canada, which I'm delighted about.
Obviously, in your opinion, you're in a field that's combining science and art. How do you see that relationship growing as the world moves on?
Well, over the last few years, in the UK in particular, we've sort of been changing from the idea of STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and maths, and there's a lot more work about STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and maths, basically because it makes it a more open format, in particular for children to learn. So as an artist, I am trying to break down the divisions. I feel like we should not be making these artificial academic divides, and that people should, and especially children, should be able to learn in any way that they feel comfortable with. And as I specialise in stuff about space, it makes a very fine way of passing on information, combining art and space studies.
With your relationships with the space agencies and scientists who are devoting their lives to exploration, how do they feel about art's role in the future of exploration, and particularly the moon and Mars?
Well, I'm delighted to say I started really working in this area in 2011, and over the last sort of 6 or 7 years, it's completely opened up, and especially the universities in the UK, they've really realised that they must get their information out to a wide audience, and they're instructed to do so now. And there are grants also that enable this to happen. So they've started working with more artists. I'm currently working with Northumbria University in Newcastle, and also a scientist from Cambridge University, Dr. Helen Mason, and we're doing a lot of science outreach about the sun in this case.
You mentioned STEAM. Now, with respect to schools and education in particular, how do you think that applies? How does science come into the art room? How does art go into the science room?
Well, it's quite often dependent on the teachers involved, actually, but we're now finding that more science and art teachers want to combine their two areas of expertise, and they realise that you will get to this larger audience. And I used to be a child that sat in school as an arts-based child, and I sat there in the science lessons and really understood very little of it, and used to sit at the back and just get through the lessons. Now, a huge part of what I do is not to allow anyone to sit at the back and get through the lesson. So I would try. I feel at this point, where I've been working in this field for over 6 years, I have a good knowledge of the science, although I'm not a scientist, but it means I can pass on the information and engage all the children in the class. And it seems to work. Now it seems to be a very successful method of engaging the children and getting them to understand what's going on around them. And one other thing, that the 21st century is really the age where it's a true space age for all citizens of the Earth, as we're planning now to go and live on the moon, and possibly we'll be able to get to Mars in the distant future. So the children need to understand they're part of this extraordinary new space age, and as they become adults, they will see amazing things happening around them, and the technology is changing dramatically.
As you may have heard, we're building a new Center for Art and Design. As an artist and as someone who's got such ties to science, if you could give your recommendations to the people planning the curriculum for that building, what would you think would be critical to include in the learning that happens in that space?
I think it's very important. As an artist, I get to visit many organisations and many schools, and I think it's a very productive thing for schools to invite people from outside of their own organisation. So I would say please invite many artists, please invite many scientists and other people from other professions, so that children get to see people who actually work in these industries and experience it. It brings in a new energy, and also I would be delighted to think they might have an artist in residence, and they maybe even have a scientist in residence, and set up some collaborations between the arts and sciences. I was looking at Manitoba University, and I see there's plenty of astrophysics and physics there to get engaged with.
Excellent. We'll finish off with a final maybe a word for our for the parents or parents of prospective students who may not quite grasp the move that education is taking towards this integration of innovative thinking into the classrooms. What would you say to reassure a parent who sees that things are not going to be the same old way that they've always been done?
Well, I think some of them might be delighted, I would think. Well, because I'm of the age now of parents and a little bit older, that if I think now that when I was at school, if someone had taught me science and maths in a different way, I would have this different knowledge. I've had to the science in particular, I've gone about it in a completely different way as an artist and picked up that information, and I work on a knowledge and facts-based information, which I figure if I can understand it, I can communicate it to anybody. I feel that the parents, I work with a lot of parents and include them in projects as well, and they're delighted, and they also join in the workshops, and they are as delighted as the children to be part of it. I think the most important thing is everybody wants their children to learn and have a very productive time at school and come out as sort of successful and positive. So whatever methods are needed to do that is a good idea. If it's successful, it's a good idea.
Thank you so much for spending the time with us, and thank you for presenting this morning. It's been a delight to have you here.
Okay, it's been delightful to be here.